Back in Louisville, Kentucky, here part of the AAU Super Showcase Gold event, our second of 6 games today here on the Basketball Channel. I want to thank Chris Collins, head coach at Northwestern, for joining us as we get this game tipped off between King James in white and the UA Grind. They are in the dark uniforms with trimmed in gold and red. And we'll get you information about these two teams as well. We're going to call this game very similarly to what we did in our last game. And there's a basket right off the get-go for Team James, number 7, Derek Daniels with the basket as we get things started here. And hopefully we'll be able to bring you more coaches throughout the weekend as we are broadcasting games today, tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday here from Louisville. And we've got 4 more games, the quarterfinals coming up of the AAU National Championships coming up later on today. Our first game will be at 5:20 Eastern Time, Expressions Elite against King James. Not this King James. There are 2 different age brackets we're covering. This is the 10th grade division, and the other one will be in the 11th grade division. Kids that are going to be in the graduating class in 2015. We'll get you some names on the floor as well. There's a traveling violation on the Grind's number 32, Tyree Johnson, 6'1" guard from North Central High School. UA Grind based out of Cicero, Indiana, near the Chicago area. Kids all over that neck of the woods there. And King James kids are located outside of Lima, Ohio. There's another ball down low. Basket is no good. Derek Daniels had another. Got it back. And he scored again. So Derek Daniels with 2 quick baskets for King James. He's got 4. For the Grind, mentioned Tyree Johnson. There's a jump shot on the right wing that's splashed home by number 20, of course, who's not in my program. All right. Xavier Simpson on the floor, along with E.B. Davis. Derek Funderburk wears number 4 for King James. Kobe Clay, number 42 for UA Grind. Out top there, it's number... And you know, unfortunately, what happens here is sometimes the numbers don't match the program. That's where we are here with UA Grind, is we've got numbers that don't match the program. We'll try and get that figured out if we can. Baltimore Elite won our first game 62-50. King James and UA Grind, the game we're watching right now. And here's the other games coming up. Expressions Elite will take on King James in our next game, followed by Alabama Challenge and Howard Pulley at 6:40. Now you get a chance to look at the last 2 games. We'll get those to you here in a minute. There's a shot taken, no good. By number 1, Darnell Hoskins for King James. .42 in the early going here. Got the AAU Super Showcase 16U Gold Division. Here's our graphic for you again. Our game's coming up. BABC will be in the 8 o'clock game. Their opponent is yet to be determined, either the All-Iowa Attack or Pocket City Basketball. And then the late game will be 2 teams we're waiting for to find out who won. They're playing right now, so we'll find out who they are a little bit later on.
It's just tough to keep up with every bit of this, you know what?
Hi, Van. Good to see you again.
It's nice that I could come back and join the broadcast. I realize that.
You keep wandering away on me.
Well, you know, I know everybody here.
I understand.
And that's why we had that's why we had the last guest we had. And I hope to be able to do that a few more times here during the broadcast today. Get a perspective from a lot of different coaches and have fun with this unusual broadcast. It's a great opportunity to be here at the National AAUs. Would like to let everybody know that the court we're watching was donated by Connor Sports, one of the sponsors of the AAU. Put this court together so that we could have one here at Freedom Hall, because they don't play as much basketball here as they used to. and they have to bring one in.
And more tractor pulls.
As you can see, it's got the AAU national logo out on top, and so a very famous court in a very famous arena, and we'd like to thank Connor Sports for helping to put that together.
No doubt about that. Our expert statistician Megan over here is getting me an accurate roster for UA Grind, because none of the numbers match the roster. Just so you know, Van, we figured we'd let you know that.
Well,
why do these coaches do that to us?
I think they love to see us squirm.
Well, we're squirming.
And it does happen, unfortunately.
Meantime, mom's at home going, that's my son. I go, I don't know who your son is, Mom. I need a number to match that kid.
Here's what I'd like to tell the AAU, the National Collegiate Athletic Association. If they're going to have rules for the summer, one rule that they could really make a difference for the college coaches, the people who evaluate players, and those of us who happen to be lucky enough to be able to call a game or two occasionally throughout the year, is whatever number is in the national roster that is submitted to the NCAA is the number they have to wear the whole summer.
That's a good idea.
And if they
until somebody leaves the uniforms on the wrong van, not your van, but on the wrong bus or something.
Okay, I can let that happen. That's one out of how many games?
Yeah. Have you met high school kids?
1 out of 1,000. Not normally. Normally, the reason the numbers are different is because today it's how they threw them to the kids, because they all wear the same size.
Right.
And that's how we get different numbers. It's not even the kids that do it. Sometimes it's just the coach throwing them out there and saying, oh, okay, you wear this, you wear this, you wear this. That's not the way you do this. This is no different than if they're getting ready for college, they're preparing to be college players. In college, you wear the number they assign you. That's what it should be.
Right. Well, here for UA Grind, we'll give you some
so much for my serious
names
dissertation
and
on
some
that.
numbers. How about Joseph Brunk, wears number 50. Parker Chitty, number 10. Preston Flamian, number 22. Damon Henson, number 32. Andre Jones, number 20. John Kaiser, number 42. Max Kurkowski, number 31. Sam Oliphant is number 25. And then Jordan Walker wears number 2. We do have a Michael Brandon Peters listed here, but we don't have a number for Michael. So there's a basket put up and good by number 1, Darnell Hoskins, and King James leads 10-8. You look at our graphic there, King James as in LeBron James. He's got his own AAU team that he sponsors, and the UA Grind. Grind with the basketball, down by 2. There's a jump shot on the way. It's short, taken by number 10, Parker Chitty. That's C-H-I-T-T. King James in white, the Grind in black. 138 again, rules for this, standard high school basketball rules. We'll play 4 8-minute quarters, have a standard halftime break. The teams will be, each team allowed 7 team fouls before the other team's in the bonus. 10 fouls get you in the double bonus, and player fouls are at 5 for the game. There's a nice driving basket. Put home there by Chitty. And the game's tied 10-10. Here's a 3 on the way, left wing by Hoskins, no good. Rebound to the Grind. This is the 16U Super Showcase event. Coming up next, 4 quarterfinal games. We'll give you full play-by-play of those 4 quarterfinal games. Hop to the hole and lay it in. Nice pass down low, and Joe Brunk with the easy lay-in. Brunk's a big boy. 6'8", 6'9" in the middle of that defense. Nice strong move to the basket there. Shot no good by Willie Jackson, but he'll get himself a couple of free throws. And the free throw is good. Funny thing is, on the roster that they gave us, none of these names on the original roster are the names over here.
Well, there's actually 2 2016 UA Grind teams with no other denoter, and that's why that's goofed up, and why we were given the wrong roster originally. which does not make this an easy job sometimes to do.
Well, we're having fun.
Well, that's part of some the fun of summer basketball is doing some of this very stuff where you have to just put it together as you go.
We'll get a picture, man. We'll do a little selfie, have some fun over here. My wife is in San Diego. She's sending me pictures, so I'm going to send her one as well. We're having fun. 12-12 with 10 seconds to go here on the Basketball Channel as part of the 16U Super Showcase Gold event. And again, the quarterfinals of the 17U division coming up, and that's the end of the first quarter. Another game that's tied 12-12 at the end of the first quarter. So a very competitive game, our first game out between the Wisconsin Academy and Baltimore Elite. That Baltimore Elite pulled away and won 62-50. And this one here is 12-12 in the early going.
Well, you know, both these teams, I think, feeling each other out a little bit. We saw that in the first game, and then we saw the pressure really get turned up in the fourth quarter by Baltimore Elite, and they were able to change the tempo of the game and to win pulling away. King James, very, very talented team. A lot of players that are going to be recruited by high Division I players. UA Grind's team is a team that represents a lot of different UA organizations. These kids are some of the what they consider the elite players in that area of the country for Under Armour. So
we probably have a relative of the former Lawrence Funderburg, do we not? And Derek James Funderburg from King James. Got to assume that's a relative, maybe?
It is a relative. I'm not sure what exactly, how far removed, but I know it is.
Former Ohio State Buckeye, Lawrence, right?
It might even be a son, but I'm not sure. Would be about the right age.
Nah, it would be that's. I was thinking maybe a younger brother, but okay. Lawrence wasn't around that long ago.
10 or 12 years ago.
Was it that long?
Yes. We getting old, baby.
Are we that old? I guess so, probably right. I recognize the name. It seems to me Chris Collins is still in high school. Because right. I was covering his games. Glenbrook right. North High School.
You were covering his games, and I was watching him play as an evaluator. So it is one of those things where it's all relative to the time frame.
We're at the AAU National Championships in Louisville, Kentucky, alongside Van Coleman. I'm Brett Grant. There's our Twitter handles. You can check us out on Twitter. Van at Van's Hoops. And I'm the Big Sports Fly right there on Twitter as well. Also TBC Nets.
Now, does that mean that you're as irritating as what most flies are, or just parts of that?
I'm just the Big Sports Fly. Okay. I'm the guy.
You're just a happy one looking for a little sugar.
Well, the Sports Fly is more about the fly on the wall. You know, the guy hanging out in the locker room, listening, want to be the fly on the wall, hearing what the guys are talking about, right?
That's right. You always wanted to be that guy, so you became it.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, I got it now.
The only way I got in the locker room, right? I wasn't good enough to be a player.
I'm not arguing that a bit.
Yep. I remember my sophomore year high school basketball coach, as he cut me from the team, he said, you know what? He goes, you can shoot and pass, but you can't run, jump, rebound, or play defense worth a crap. So we got to let you go. I said, hey, you got a room for a designated shooter somewhere? I can shoot, coach. He goes, you can shoot, but you can't do anything else. Like, you got to play defense, coach?
And then 2 years later, you transferred schools and you ended up beating the guy. So that can happen.
Exactly, yeah. I put on my hockey skates, started playing hockey. Oh, man. King James is from Lima, Ohio. The UA Grind is from the Indianapolis, Indiana area. It's not too far away from here. That's the one thing in this part of the country, Van, obviously, is we're in Louisville, and obviously the hotbed, but when you get Louisville and Kentucky, and they play Indiana, and they play up there in Indianapolis, it's like a home game for both teams.
Well, yeah, it is, and there's 50,000 people, and you're not sure whose crowd is whose, because it just all blends together. A lot of red, a lot of blue. Next thing you know, it all turns purple to me. I've never figured it out. They love their basketball here. It's almost has been a religion over the years in the way they approach it. And there's a lot of very vehement fans on every one of those teams.
We were talking about that. Actually, here at Freedom Hall, it's also home of the Kentucky Sports Hall of Fame. And when you walk through the hallways here at Freedom Hall, you see a lot of Kentucky basketball faces on plaques hanging in Freedom Hall, the home of Louisville basketball for so many years. It's an interesting twist.
Well, you know what? Kentucky is Kentucky. And Louisville is Louisville, but when you're in the state, it's all the same. Freedom Hall just happened to be the place that they ended up putting the Hall of Fame, and I think for a reason. It's a Hall of Fame building.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the thing we really love. And you know, they've resurrected it here for the national AAUs as part of our broadcast here on the basketball channel. We're very appreciative of the Forrest Harris and James Parker and all the staff and the job they did to get this put together to give us this opportunity. And we're hoping for many years to come we bring the games here on the basketball channel and with our broadcast partners like Universal Sports.
Al Eichelberger with the basket for King James last time down the floor, and a couple baskets from Joseph Brunk. Big number 50 in the last couple of trips down the floor.
Al Eichelberger being recruited by a lot of Big Ten schools, big, strong, physical, knows how to score around the basket. A lot of folks in the Big Ten love the way he plays.
The ball tapped up and good into by number 22. That's Preston Flamian. Game going back and forth, 18-14. UA Grind up by 4. They've kind of asserted themselves here a little bit in the second quarter. 4:44, or as we would say back in St. Louis, far left to go. We do. We don't like our fours back there.
You know, but I do like some of your barbecue.
Yeah, yeah. Funny thing is, the only place in the country where you can't get St. Louis ribs is in St. Louis, because I've never heard of them before. I grew up there. You go somewhere else, you go, I want some of them St. Louis ribs. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's the cut. It's the cut.
Right.
You probably call it something else in St. Louis and didn't know it
Call
was.
them ribs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's just the cut.
Pretty much what it was.
It's the way they cut it.
Right. Free throw up and good. That's number 8, Willie Jackson, who's had a nice first half. He'll take a break, and back into the game comes number 7, Derek Daniels, coming in.
And that was I think a denoter invented by folks from Kansas City just to confuse things between the barbecue.
Well, that's probably true. Kansas City is very famous for their barbecue, as is Memphis. So you've got those 3 cities that are relatively close to each other, 4 hours away from both of them from St. Louis. Louisville's about 4 hours away as well. We had some great barbecue yesterday down here as well.
Yes, we did.
Nice pass work inside and a beautiful look, and the basket up and good by Andre Jones.
Good pass by Joseph Brunk.
Yeah, big night number 50. Joseph's had himself a nice first half. Again, these kids are all graduate. They're going to be juniors in high school. The vast majority of them. Here's a nice replay on that pass work. Good look on the inside. So these guys are just starting to be recruited a little bit, right, Van?
Well, the recruiting's a little further down the road in today's world than in the past, but this is the first time that really coaches have really taken a hard, serious look, I think. You know, you've been getting the letters, you've been invited to ball games, you know, just based on your reputation, those kind of things. And, you know, you may have got a few tweets here and there, and maybe a text or two, but the reality is this is where it starts for them. This is the first summer people really get serious. They'll watch them now, they'll watch them in season, they'll watch them next spring, and by next spring, most guys are really starting to narrow the list down to the kids they're really focusing in on and hoping that they make those kids' lists as far as the schools they're considering.
There's a good look at Brunk. Joe Brunk, number 50. And he makes the free throw. Where do you see a player like Joe Brunk? He's obviously got that nice first half here so far. Is he a guy that's a high major or a guy in the middle?
Well, right now he's probably a mid-major plus type kid who's got some development yet. He's got the good size. I think he's got to work a little bit on his footwork, upper body strength. But, you know, right now, in his class, he's a kid that you're going to see everybody from the mid-majors all the way up through the high majors take a look at because of his size and his mobility.
There's a bump and a foul as Andre Jones was going to the basket there. Andre showing some wheels, getting to the hoops.
And I know one thing. That basket had a lot of resonation on that one.
That was like we were in the percussion section for a second there. I think I was sitting so close to the stage, I scared the band.
I thought they turned the Marshalls on, and I was going to lose my hearing. I'm talking about Marshall amplifiers.
Or Marshall Tucker, whoever.
Well, it goes back to my childhood.
Yeah, Marshall amplifiers. We know that. Yeah.
What? Put a stack of Marshalls behind you and watch your clothes move.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
Oh, I'm sure. Get some serious bass going. Free throw is good by Andre Jones. Now he'll check out of the game. Back into the game will come John Kaiser, number 42.
That was in another childhood, by the way.
Yeah. Also in the game, Jordan Walker, number 2 for UA Grind. Number 25, Sam Oliphant in the game as well for the UA Grind. As they make wholesale substitutions. Also back into the game is Preston Flemion. Grind in black, King James in white for King James on the floor, Xavier Simpson. Back into the game comes number 1, Darnell Hoskins. Number 7 is Derek Daniels. Number 2 with a modified jersey, we'll call it, Martavius Cobbs. And number 6 is Al Eichelberger. Five-point game, UA Grind on top, 22-17. Nice strong move. Couldn't finish there was number 2, Martavius Cobbs.
Well, at least if he's got a modified uniform, he at least put the right number on.
He's got it magic markered on there. We are going rec school basketball. You know, almost might as well go shirts and skins, huh?
Now the bad thing is that you got to see whose name's on that uniform. Somebody stole that.
Probably. It says King James on it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Or they do have an older team here. Maybe somebody on the older team lost his jersey and said, you know what, you're on the younger team. We need a jersey up for the older guys.
Oh, that
right?
could happen too. Yes. I might go with the former. That unfortunately that name can tend to do that.
Might have been eaten by a washer as well. You never know. Free throws upcoming here for Eichelberger.
I'll say that.
We got a microphone there that's really loud on that rim. Just thought we'd let people know. Wow. Here's head coach of the UA Grind, Brett Christ.
That was a little hot. A little hot on that mic.
Grind with the basketball, and they lead by 4, 22-18. Down low for Grunk. Nice left-handed move by Brunk. Put it up and good. Softly with the left hand. Shows a nice touch there, both sides.
Of course, we're broadcasting here from the National AAUs, and this is the 16 and under Super Showcase Gold quarterfinal round. I'd like to remind everybody the AAU was founded in 1888 to establish standards in uniformity in amateur sports. During its early years, the AAU served as a leader in international sport, representing the U.S. in the international sports federations. The AAU has worked closely with the Olympic movement to prepare athletes for the Olympic Games. After the Amateur Sports Act of 1978, the AAU has focused its efforts on providing sports programs for participants of all ages, beginning in the grassroots level. That's this group that we're looking at right here. The philosophy is sports for all forever, and is shared by over 650,000 participants and over 100,000 volunteers nationally. The AAU, the founding father, I think, of grassroots and amateur sports in America.
No doubt about it. You go AAU, it didn't matter the sport.
Yeah,
gold gloves, right? You know,
sometimes
AAU gold gloves.
Sometimes the AAU doesn't like the fact that they get that moniker across the board, but in reality, when you think of amateur sports, you think the AAU.
Well, you know, my father fought in the gold gloves, and I think, you know, it's AAU. That's what we talked about that growing up. It was a place for kids to go and stay out of trouble, stay busy with athletics. A different era long ago when mom and dad were off doing their thing. The kids went down to the local AAU, got involved in sports, and it's continued down here at a high-profile level with, and on the basketball court. Playing a great place here like Freedom Hall, but it's been a great institution, as you mentioned there, for what, about 140 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing since 1888. That's even older than me.
Just a little bit, by about a week. Nice move on the inside, ball tipped up and no good. And pulled out of there by the Grind. They lead 24-20. That's the UA Grind, which I'm assuming the UA stands for Under Armour.
That is a fact.
Okay. We got battling shoes all over the place here. So you'll have to explain to me, the novice in this.
Well, what you look
all
for,
the shoes.
You look for the U and A look like an H.
Right.
That's Under Armour. The swoosh, of course, is Nike. And then when you see 3 stripes, that's Adidas.
Adidas, right.
And when we get a Reebok shoe, and they've changed their design, I'll identify that for you as well. I know they have a new design on this.
Well, the shoes being worn here by number 22, Preston Flemion, looking right at you. That's got a triangle on it.
That's right. That's the Adidas triangle, but they usually go with the three stripes look. Depends on the style of the shoe.
All right. I have to say I've never seen the Adidas triangle one before.
That may be a retro look. I think that was about 2001, 2002, 2003. It was really prevalent in their design.
Okay. Well, Adidas was, to me, it was always the three stripes. And of course, you know what Adidas stands for. Nice drive there in the basket by Jones. All day I dream about sports. Adidas. At least that's what we said when we were kids. I didn't make that up. You think I just made that up?
I would not have known that.
Yeah.
That's one that got by me in my 38 years around the court.
I really don't think I made that up. I just want you to know that. I heard it somewhere when I was a kid. Because Adidas was, obviously, you go back in the 1980s, Adidas was not a basketball shoe company as much as they were a soccer shoe company, along with Puma.
And even today, they are the #1 soccer shoe in the world. So that's their claim to fame, except for one other thing. They're the shoe of the New York Yankees.
Well, there you go. And you would know that because you're a Yankee fan.
You know, every time I watched them play, that logo kept coming up. I figured,
right. Timeout on the floor with 14 seconds to go here in the first half. 26-22. UA grind on top of King James. Quincy Simpson, the coach of King James. Team based out of Lima, Ohio.
You know, one of the great things for these kids, you know, not only are they getting to play in an historic place like Freedom Hall here at the AAUs, here in town. We enjoyed it yesterday. We went down to the Louisville Slugger factory and saw how they make the baseball bats for the major leagues and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Louisville is a big sports town. A lot of people don't realize it.
Well, you got a lot of things going on in Louisville. Obviously, you've got the legendary Churchill Downs, home of the greatest race in horse racing, the first Saturday in May. They run for the Roses, the fastest 2 minutes in sports. You've got minor league baseball here, the Louisville Bats, as they're called now. Previously were the Louisville Cardinals, Louisville Redbirds, but now they're part of the Reds organization. There's the end of the first half, 26-24. You've got a resurgence. You know, when you're talking about Louisville, the University of Louisville, you talked about the basketball program for a long, long time. But now football, Charlie Strong has left, but he brought that up, and Bobby Petrino is back here. In football, they've won a national soccer championship a couple years ago. Their baseball program has been terrific. Their athletic facilities at the University of Louisville are fantastic. And
you know,
it really has.
It really is. It's a great sports town. A lot of people don't realize. And I'll tell you what, they'd like to have a pro program here. They just haven't been able to find the right one in the right situation.
And they do have a beautiful new arena downtown, the Yum Center. I like to call it the Yum Yum Center. I like the extra yum for some reason, but the Yum Center as it is.
Yeah, you know, it's still Kentucky Fried Chicken.
It's right. Colonel Sanders, the official mascot down there?
It should be the Sanders Center, but that poor man's been forgotten by that company.
Yeah, that's the way it goes, I guess.
But it is his recipe, so remember that.
And you got the Papa John's football stadium that Louisville plays on, so Papa John's.
And you notice that Papa John got his name on it, right?
Yes, he did, because Papa knows best, right?
That's right.
We're at halftime of our second of 6 games today here on the basketball channel. And we'll let Van tell you about what's coming up a little bit later on and what's going on in our schedule here throughout the weekend.
That's right. Coming up next at 5:20, we're going to have Expressions Elite playing the 17 and under version of King James. Then we're going to have the Alabama Challenge going against Howard Pulley at 6:40. BABC will play the winner of the All-Iowa Attack Pocket City basketball game, which we're still waiting on an answer on. And then at 9:20, we will have another of the Super Showcase quarterfinals, and we're waiting for that matchup as well right here on the basketball channel. So stick with us all throughout the day. This is one of the great days at this tournament where you get the quarterfinals, the 17s. Those are wars. We're looking forward to those coming up. And I'll tell you what, we're going to see a lot of the great coaches of America come in and watch some of these kids play throughout the evening. So stick with us right here on the basketball channel throughout the weekend. Tomorrow we're going to have games in the afternoon starting at 1:20 and 2:40. We'll be covering the semifinals of the 17 and under. And then in the evening from 5:20 on, we'll have the silver championship and then the gold championship in both the 16 and 17 under. So you're going to get to see great basketball right here on the basketball channel all weekend long. And then on Sunday, we will have a couple quarterfinals in the national tournament in the 16 unders, and we will have the 17 and under quarterfinals right here on the basketball channel. And then Monday, we will be putting together the broadcast for the 16 and 17 under national championships, which will be shown on Universal Sports on August 1st, part of a 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. 6-hour block of the best basketball the AAU has to offer. That's on Universal Sports. Check your local listings. We know that they're on DirecTV and on Cox Cable, so you got a chance to watch them across the country. Enjoy those games. Some of the best basketball the summer has to offer right here on the basketball channel and on Universal Sports on August 1st. Welcome back to the second half here of this quarterfinal, the 16 under gold championship in the Super Showcase. And right now we've got a tie ball game, I think. But that one, no, excuse me, a 27-26 advantage for King James with that jump shot. And, you know, it's an amazing thing, folks. We come out here, we watch these kids play. The 16 and unders, as we talked earlier, we don't want to harp on this too much, but the reality is the 16 under tend to pass the ball a little more, tend to take a little more time, tend to put their game together that way. But the talent level out here in the 16 under is tremendous. To just give you an idea, King James right now on their ball club has 5 or 6 kids that are being looked at by high major programs. Number 7, Derek Daniels. Number 6, Al Eichelberger. Number 8, Willie Jackson, who's been in and out of the game. Number 3, Xavier Simpson. And number 0, Ibrahim Watson. So, you know, talent on the floor, high quality. You step over to UA Grind. I've been this is the first time I've got a chance to see this team. But Joseph Brunk, number 50, 6'10" post player, has been very impressive. I like the game that number 42, John Garrett Kaiser, shows us here in the early going of this ball game. Very solid lead guard, and number 10, Parker Chitty. And so, you know, you look at it, a lot of talent, a lot of skill. This group is still playing together. I like that part of this game. That's what makes the joy of watching some of these younger guys play, because I'm getting to see actual basketball being played. Not one-on-one, not your typical grassroots that sometimes you see in other places. And the AAU stresses that. They want to see these kids come out and they want to see them play together and learn to play the game together. And, you know, for me, it's a lot of fun because I get out here and I get to look up and down the sidelines and see all kinds of coaches that I've known for years and years and years. And I've, you know, provided the scouting service for and to help with finding players. Like Sherman Dillard sitting next to me here from the University of Iowa. Good friend of mine. We've known each other for many, many years. I used to hold a basketball camp on the campus of James Madison University many years ago, and he was the head coach there. So been around, known him for a long time. So I just love having to be out here. It's kind of like old home week for me, Brett, to get out amongst the coaches.
Having some fun, and there we go. And James Madison, home of the Dukes, right?
That's right, the Dukes.
It was the Dukes.
The Dukes of James Madison.
I remember the movie The Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd.
That's right, the Dukes.
It was the Dukes. It was the Dukes. I always thought it was unfair when James Madison had to play William & Mary. It was 2-on-1. And then they played George Mason. It was a little more even matchup, you know, a little one-on-one action, you know. I mean, you know, then William & Mary's got to play, you know, that's a little tough, isn't it?
I think that has something to do with being from St. Louis. I'm not real sure.
Yeah, then you got to play, you know, George Washington. You got to play the founding father. You're in trouble there, aren't you?
Well, that's right. You know, you don't get many breaks from the officials when you're playing a guy who never tells a lot.
Right, exactly. Yeah. We're here at the AAU Nationals Super Showcase 16U tournament game right here, 31-31. As you are listening to us banter here on the basketball channel.
I was going to say, you know, it's a little early to get punchy. You know that? We got a lot of basketball yet to go. We got 4 ball games.
A lot of fun, a lot of fun.
While you were out and about, I was going through some of the great talent that was on the floor. That the fact that there was 7 or 8 players who were being looked at by high major programs that are playing in this game, and a couple kids that have really impressed me with UA that I had not seen before. Who stepped up and played well, and a couple other kids that we'll talk about as the afternoon goes on, because this is a very, very talented group. The thing that I said was the one difference is that these guys are still playing together, making that extra pass and doing the things that bring their game to a higher level down the road.
How much influence or how much involvement does a player, a person like LeBron James have with his King James program here?
Well, I think he has the influence of the fact that the guys that are involved at the top, that are doing the planning, putting it together, those kind of things. He'll get out and be around the program when he has time during the year. And I've seen him in a number of different tournaments where he'll show up and actually support the team. Now, whether that'll happen this weekend with both of them playing here, or maybe if they make it to the finals, we could see him show up in the gym. That's happened before. Happened a couple years ago in Vegas at the Fab 48 when his team was playing for in the semifinals, and he showed up and watched the ball game. So never say never.
Right.
We could have one of those sightings here before the weekend is over.
35-31, King James on top. They had a nice basket down the other end. Darnell Hoskins finished off a beautiful feed from Xavier Simpson. Xavier with the basketball right now. The UA Grind in black, King James in white. The Grind from Indianapolis, Indiana. And King James' squad from Lima, Ohio. Ball's knocked out of bounds. Will stay with King James. Lima, Ohio. I should apologize. Lima beans, Lima. Yeah, my fault.
You know, I've heard it both ways. By people from Ohio, so I'm always confused on that one.
I got you. Well, if you really want to get confused, you should just spend time in the state of Illinois, where they butcher every French pronunciation. You know, like the Treaty of Versailles. In Illinois, it's the Treaty of Versailles. Just so you know. Marseille, no, it's Marseilles. That big constellation in the sky we call Orion, that's Orion, Illinois, just so you know.
No wonder they don't like us in Iowa, because we say it the other way, and then they think we don't know what we're talking about.
Well, they have one thing in Chicago where they have famous of these things on the highways called the Oasis, where they have above the highway you can get off and get gasoline and stop by, and there's one called
Seen a few of those.
Des Plaines Oasis. DES Plains Oasis. And you're like, what did you just say? Okay. Yeah. I'm not making any of that up. Anybody who's from the Chicago area or from the state of Illinois knows that I speak the truth.
Well, you lived there for quite a while, so
I did.
We're not going to argue that with you.
Free throw is up and no good there from Ibby Watson. Wears number 0. Crowd gym starting to fill up a little bit as people come in anticipation of the next game, which will be our first of 4 quarterfinal matchups.
Yeah, one of the things that the folks that are interested in the championship bracket, we should see a little bigger crowd here as we go on through the night.
36-31, 4 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter. Here on the Basketball Channel alongside Van Coleman, I'm Brett Grant. Glad you're with us, spending some time. We've got 4 more games after this one.
Extend that arm, you're going to get that foul called every time.
Offensive foul they call. Where do you see college basketball, Van, going from the shuffling of teams? You see that continuing with teams moving and moving from different conferences?
I think
or do you think it's going to settle down a little bit?
I think it's going to settle down a little bit until they see what actually happens with the new rules that the NCAA is considering. What are they going to give those 5 major conferences? Will there be a last influx after that rule change to come up with final numbers? You know, all those 5 conferences could end with 16 teams. I mean, it could end up that kind of situation because... Which is okay for basketball because there's 320 Division I schools. Actually, what I think will happen, and this will kill you a little bit, but first off, let's look at the AAU National Championship TV schedule. On August 1st, from 3 until 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be showing 2 games out of the Super Showcase and the 16 under and the 17 under national championships. On August 2nd, there'll be a repeat of the Super Showcase games. On August 3rd, I think it is a repeat of the national championship bracket. And then on the 4th and 5th, I'll repeat both of those. So over the 1st through the 5th, you can see all of these national championship level games on Universal Sports. Check your local listings to catch that. We know that they're on DirecTV and Cox for sure across the country. So you should get an opportunity to see Universal Sports and the National AAU Super Showcase and National Championships right here on the Basketball Channel and Universal Sports.
Parker Chitty with the turnover after he had just made a beautiful three his last time down the floor. King James up by 2 points, make that 4, and a nice drive to the basket by Xavier Simpson.
Like I was saying, let's go back to the question you had. I think that we're going to see one last expansion after the rules are changed, and then I think it really calms down. And then will become the question of, are we going to create a different bracketing of the national championship, or are we going to leave it the way it is? Because I've always felt that one of the mystiques of it is when a Northern Iowa can beat a Kansas or Missouri, something like that. The runs that Wichita State, the runs that Missouri, you know, that people like Missouri State have made in getting to a Sweet 16. Those are things that, you know, George Mason, you talked about just a minute ago, that have made run to Final Four. I think those are the things that make basketball aesthetically different than a lot of the other sports.
Well, I think the biggest thing is obviously when you talk about the 5 major conferences.
It's driven by football.
It's football, and you have to separate football from basketball, because how do you treat a conference like the Big East? That is a great basketball conference that doesn't have football.
And the a new American Association, that's the same way, the American Athletic. It's going to be the same kind of thing.
But you're taking schools like Marquette and Providence and Creighton now, and those kind of schools that don't have football, even in the Atlantic 10, like St. Louis and Xavier, and these teams that have been very good in basketball in recent times. You can't treat them differently from the SEC or the ACC, or they're as good a conference as the Pac-12.
Well, yeah, that's right.
The big conference is the Big 12.
And you haven't talked about the Atlantic 10 or the Mountain West, or at times the top half of the Mo Valley, the top half of the MAC. I mean, there are teams that compete against the best in the country.
I think you really have to separate football from this. If you're going to say, hey, we're going to take the Power 5 conferences and do something special for them from a football standpoint, so that's where the national champion comes from, I can understand that. But you still have to give a team from the Mountain West Conference like a Boise State a chance, or Utah a few years ago that went into the Sugar Bowl and beat Alabama in football. And no doubt, when you have a team like Butler now in the Big East that went to back-to-back national championship games, didn't win, but they were there back-to-back years, you have to keep basketball similar to what it is.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the problem they're having, because they want to make some rules that give an advantage to those 5 conferences, and I don't think that's for the best of the sport. Now, do I think they made too many Division I schools? Absolutely.
For basketball.
Yes.
300 plus.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Well, in football, you know, we already divisionalized. We have a 1A and a 1AA. But it still is one of those things that there is still a mystique to that, because we've had a 15 beat a 2. We haven't had a 16 beat a 1, but we had a 15 beat a 2, and it's happened a couple times in years where we thought that 2 had a chance to win a national title. One of them was one that made me almost sick, because it came out of my home state when Iowa State lost. So I know what that feels like, but that's part of the mystique. And I think losing that takes all the things that build up to March Madness and the run to the Final Four, and you could really take that away. And I think they got to be very careful, because let's face it, the NCAA doesn't get money much from football. The NCAA gets all their money from basketball.
Right.
And they've got to be real careful how they put it together.
Because obviously they don't run the bowls. The bowl system runs the bowls. The BCS runs the playoff system now in basketball, and it's not a NCAA sanctioned event. That's why when you look at the NCAA sanctioned events, you have the black and blue basketball court. You've got the baseball fields set up the way they are going in through the postseason. But I think it's really interesting how they're going to figure this out, whether it's some of the schools, obviously, the haves. Let's say you take a basketball-only school, a school like Marquette. They could take their basketball players, and they could do what some of the teams are talking about doing, like a USC is taking their football and baseball or basketball athletes and saying, we're going to cover you for the cost of tuition. A school like Marquette could do that for their basketball team, because they don't have a football team. But then you take a team that has a football and a basketball team, maybe a school like a mid-major, like a Cincinnati, that has both, saying, we don't have quite enough revenue from a football standpoint to pay for all these guys. How do you make a system that's equitable? And I just threw Cincinnati out. I have no idea what their situation is. But it's very difficult to create a situation that's going to be similar to an Alabama or a Texas, who has more revenue than anybody, versus a team that doesn't.
Well, that's the tough thing about the inequity of the whole deal. I don't know that they can come up with a perfect system that does that. That's one of the the arguments a lot of people make against paying athletes. I think the guaranteed education is a much better stance, in that if a young man doesn't make it, leaves, goes to pro, doesn't make it, and he still gets an education out of it because he had that guaranteed. I think there's some things that could be a positive, because the one thing about it is we got to quit making rules in the sport of basketball based on 3 or 4 players. You got to quit making rules based on somebody might go to the NBA when it's so few players affecting the overall of this game. It just absolutely infuriates me that people sit in the power positions and make stupid rules about 3 or 4 guys and don't look at the other 96 guys in that 100 and what they do, and the fact that they go to school and they get educations and graduate at a higher rate than the entering students they come in against. I don't get it. You make it sound like the kids are idiots that play a sport, when in most cases those end up being the leaders of our country and of our armed forces and other things, because they have that competitive edge because they've developed it through their lifestyle. I just don't get that situation. Now, yes, I've been involved with sports almost all my life, so I have a different look at it. But I also ran a sports organization that used to run 4,000 and 5,000 kids a year. And out of that, the majority of my kids, 99.5%, just wanted to be college athletes.
Right. Oh, nice shot at the buzzer there. Put up and good. It'll count.
Just like these guys we're watching out here, folks.
Xavier Simpson.
These kids want a chance to play college basketball. Yes, they may have a dream to be a pro someday. On this court right now, I couldn't tell you there is a guaranteed pro, but I can tell you there's a lot of really good college players.
Xavier Simpson with the basket. That gives King James a 10-point lead, 45-35, as we hit the end of the 3rd quarter. Maybe a better example from the disparity of a football, basketball right in the city where we live in Las Vegas, where UNLV has a terrific basketball program and a football program that has struggled for years and years and years, has a very difficult time drawing.
And until they have an indoor arena, that will be the case.
They did make a bowl game last year, but at the same time, 5 previous seasons they had won 2 games. But how do you take those 100 athletes and say we're going to pay for their college, like USC might be doing for their football athletes, versus a basketball program that actually is the one that makes money at the school?
Well, the tough thing about that is the only way football in Nevada, Las Vegas can be successful is if you have a indoor football stadium, because you can't play in 100 and some degree heat and expect your football players to be at the same level as somebody else who's down the road, say at Southern Cal, who's playing in 75 and 80 degree weather at the worst part of their season when it's 110 in Vegas when you start your season. Think about 110 in Vegas. We both know what it's like. We live there.
It's there now.
And that's why the football program's never going to be at that level. So the thing is, you can't. And that's the problem the NCAA has. Not everybody is on an equal plane, not only in what they're recruiting to and how they got to approach it, but the fans won't even come out to those games if they're played before 8 o'clock at night.
Well, luckily they play most of those games at night. But yes, you're right. And it's also the schedule and things going on, and success, and having success and continued success is what draws fans to it as well. It's got to become a destination. And in a city like Las Vegas, you're competing, that $20 or $25 admission ticket is competing with everything that goes on in the entertainment mecca like Las Vegas. You know, Southern California has to compete with all the glory of Southern California, from the beaches to the nightlife, where Las Vegas has the same thing. You're competing for...
And that's why very seldom is UCLA and Southern Cal at the same level when it comes to their fandom. Usually it's a come and a go, depending on who's successful.
Right.
And that's a tough dollar to spend.
That's why Iowa City, there's nothing to do. You guys are good. We're going to the ball game, right?
Well, you know what?
I'm teasing.
I'm still trying to figure out how sometimes we get the kind of football teams we do there because of the cold weather.
You do a great job of recruiting Chicago area is what they do. They get those kids to come out west.
I mean, I know why people go to Carver Hawkeye in the winter, because it's warm on the inside of Carver Hawkeye and it's cold outside.
It'd be hard to get me off my couch.
Same thing at Hilton Coliseum down in Ames. Yeah. I understand that.
7 minutes and 2 seconds to go here in our second game of the day. This is the 16U Super Showcase Gold between King James in white and UA Grind in black. King James leads 45-39 as we approach just under 7 minutes here.
You know, these kids have been playing very, very hard. We've talked about this. This is what I sometimes I get on, and you know on Ball and Live I do this. I get on a stump and I want to talk about it. But folks, these young men out here right now, as I said, there might not be a guaranteed pro in this gym, but there's a lot of tremendous college players in this gym. And that's what they're trying to earn, the opportunity to play at that next level. And if they develop down the road, maybe they'll get an opportunity to play after college. But in the meantime, Most of these kids, it's about playing college ball, getting an education, and getting there. The misnomer in this sport, and I think in athletics in college overall, is that people think they go to get to the NFL or the NBA or the major leagues. No, the majority of athletes go to get an education and to play the college sport. If they happen to be lucky enough, they go. We talk too much on talk radio, ball games, and everything about the superstars, and we forget about what makes the sport great. And that's these kind of kids playing in the AAU right here this afternoon.
You know, one of the things I always looked at when I went to a Division II school, I should say, and watching the basketball players, you're in class with the guys. You can relate to somebody on the basketball team who's in your chemistry class with you, or your science class, or whatever class you're taking, marketing, and versus a guy who's making $30 million playing in the NBA, going, I have a hard time relating to that particular guy. But you know what? So-and-so was I went to class with him at the University of Iowa or Wisconsin or wherever, that kind of thing. And you saw him as an average guy.
Yeah, and a lot of times you see them that they actually do go to class and they actually do the work and that kind of thing.
No doubt.
Yeah, is there exception to that? Oh, every school has one. I mean, everybody's going to, and we talk about the exceptions and we forget about the reality. The exceptions are not reality. The exceptions are the things we're trying to correct.
Right. I remember, for me, my claim to fame in high school was I used to drive Trent Green, who was a NFL quarterback, to school. Trent lived in my neighborhood, and he was a freshman, and he needed to ride to school sometimes. Next thing you know, he's off at Indiana playing college football, and then in the NFL with the Redskins and the Rams and the Chiefs, and had a very nice career. And you knew him when he was 13, 14 years old.
But you know, the nice thing about that is because he was a star and you were his driver, there were benefits that, could be overflow, lots of things that could be to your advantage.
I was driving Mr. Trey, driving Miss Daisy around.
That's right.
Quite the same. He actually had his older brother went to the University of Iowa, played football at Iowa. Troy Green was a tight end, went to Iowa. Terrific athlete. Troy was actually a very good basketball player as well. That was one of the claims of fame where I went to high school. We beat the storied program of Vashon High School with Floyd Irons in a state tournament game, and that was a lot of fun.
Know Coach Irons very, very well. He's had some great players over the years.
Nobody beat Vashon very often in the 1980s or early 90s with Floyd Irons there. No doubt about that. 5 minutes and 20 seconds left to go here in the fourth quarter. We have 4 more games coming up. We'll take those a lot more seriously, I promise you, with the play-by-play action. As our next game is the Expressions Elite takes on King James. That's at 5:20 coming up.
Seeing as we're looking to promote the kids out here, Brett, you might want to kind of run down who's on the floor, kind of get people back on who the players are and who the guys are. They're going to have a lot to say about winning this ball game because it's a close ball game. We only got a 2-possession game here, late here in the fourth quarter. Still 5 minutes left to go, and we've seen in this tournament so far, 5 minutes is an eternity as far as who's going to win or lose.
Parker Chitty over to Kaiser, wears number 42, and Chitty will fire a 3. It's knocked out of bounds and no good. Going to stay. Nope, going to go the other direction. King James. King James in white and on the floor for them. Number 2, Martavius Cobbs. Number 3, Xavier Simpson there in the backcourt. Big guy number 4 up front is Derek Funderburk. Number 7, Derek Daniels. And number 8, Willie Jackson. The 5 on the floor is UA Grind put a little pressure on here. They trail by 6, 45-39. A quick break to the basket. Nice scoop move up and no good. Taken by Cobbs and back the other way. Here come the Grind. It's Henson, number 32, into the lane. He's shut off, bumped, and he's either fouled or traveled. I'm going to say he was fouled.
Of course, if folks do like the craziness of our banner once in a while, they can check us out on Ballin' Live on the Sports Byline Network every Saturday. Check your local listings, but I think most of the time it's going to be 9 to 10 Pacific time across the country.
10 to 11. So
10 to 11 Pacific time.
Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern time, Sports Byline Radio Network, also on the American Forces Network. You can also catch it on iHeartRadio. There's a shot in the lane. Tough shot there taken by Jones. No good. We got a foul. This week on the show, by the way, we had 3 great interviews on the show. So coming up on Saturday, Larry Brown, the legendary Hall of Fame basketball coach, Western Michigan basketball coach Steve Hawkins, and also Jerome Williams.
That's right. We bring the dog pound back to the Ballin' Live, and Jerome gives us his unique look at the summer basketball, the summer NBA Summer League, and other things. So join us, folks, on Ballin' Live on the Sports Byline Network.
Parker Chitty to inbound, looking for the big guy, Joseph Brunk, number 50, and Joe's got it in the deep left-hand corner. They'll swing it around. Kaiser now back around to Chitty on the right wing. He tries to go into the lane. He's shut off there to Jones. Skip pass, bad pass, taken away and stolen and a foul. Hoskins jumped in the passing lane and drew the foul.
He's lucky that he didn't get a intentional on that. Jamon Henson kind of grabbed him a little bit and didn't go so much for the ball, but the official gave him the break on that.
That'll send Darnell Hoskins to the line. Again, all the kids playing in this particular game are incoming juniors into high school, graduating class of 2016. They'll be on college campuses in the fall of 2016. Substitution into the game, number 2, Jordan Walker comes in.
You know, to them, it sounds like a long time from now. Before they know it, they're going to be entering college.
Well, as a father of 2 boys that will be juniors in high school, it's yeah, it's right around the corner. Even I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, well, I know with yours, you're hoping that the one definitely gets it done in baseball.
Yeah.
to pay for that, but yeah, it's a thing. We had 3 and
yeah, they don't have cheap taste, my kids. I'm not sure how that happened.
I happen to be lucky enough. That one of mine earned a basketball scholarship at Northern Iowa, and saved us a lot of money. We still appreciate that, but when we had to feed him, so the kind of was an offset. I think the cost of college and the cost of feeding my son Blake was about even.
Here's Kaiser's free throw up and good. John Kaiser wears number 42. Yeah, something about those 16, 17-year-olds. You go to the grocery store, and 5 minutes later you say, "Didn't you just go to the grocery store?"
Well, the thing with
Where'd
him,
all the food go, Bob?
the thing with him was we served a table for 8, and he ate 4 of them.
Kaiser makes them both, and the lead is trimmed down to 6, 47-41 with 4:05 to go here in the ball game. Coming up next, the quarterfinals from the 17U AAU Super Showcase Gold Division. Shot in the lane, off the window and good. That's big Al Eichelberger.
I'd like to remind everybody we're here at the National AAUs. This is the Super Showcase 16 and under gold quarterfinals. And the court that they're playing on here at Freedom Hall has been donated for this event by Connor Sports. A great job for them to come up with this national championship court. And I'll tell you, what an experience for kids, Brett, to have them play here at Freedom Hall, a storied place. Not every tournament has an arena like this that they have the opportunity to play in.
Oh, no way.
This is really, I think, a real kudo to James Parker, Forrest Harrison, all the people involved.
Anytime the kids get a chance to play on a big stage in a big arena, whether you're playing where the pros play or a college arena, whether it's a football field or a basketball court or a baseball field, it's a special time.
Oh, yeah, it is. And this is one of those things where you don't get this opportunity very often. So kudos to the AAUs for bringing this event over here to Freedom Hall and allowing the Basketball Channel to be part of the National AAUs.
No doubt. 3:50 to go in the game, 49-41. The Grind with the basketball, trailing by 8. Walker with it, left wing. Gets it into the lane for Brunk. Nice pass to Jones, put up and good. He was bumped, no foul called. Jones finished it off. 49-43. 2-possession game.
Brunk reminds me a little bit of a guy that played at Iowa by the name of Jared Reiner. Has a little bit of that same kind of game and style. Played a few years professional basketball as well. Of course, when you're close to 7 foot tall, it helps.
How tall do you think? I don't have a
he's a legitimate. He's 6'9", 6'10". I think he's right a legitimate 6'10". He's kind of he gets into that sloping down a little bit, but he'll get away from that as he gets older.
He got the tip, and Jones got the steal. And then Jones lost his balance and slipped and traveled. Good pressure defense that time by the Grind, but they lost it.
He had the chance to put that ball up in the air and get it to the big man on the break. Should have paid him back for that effort he made on the other end.
Didn't do it. You have to feed the big guys, right? They get mad at you if you don't feed them.
That's right. You don't give them food. They're not happy.
Max Kurkowski into the game for the first time. Where's number 31 for the Grind?
Give him a little of that hog hide out there.
Yeah, you make a good defensive play, and you get the big guy out there on the break, and you don't give him the basketball. You're getting yelled at.
Big man out there getting after it at the top of the key out here.
Nice drive as well by Eichelberger, but he couldn't finish it. And the rebound pulled on there by Kurkowski.
Got the mismatch.
Walker spins in the lane, scoop it, no good. Got himself in trouble there. A little too deep, and Daniels pulls out the rebound.
I don't know, if I was a coach, I might be talking to somebody about, did you see the guy that was 6'10" that was standing there?
Give him the ball.
Give him the ball, that's right.
Twice, boys.
Give the big man the ball. He ran the floor.
Feed me, Seymour, feed me.
That's right, he ran the floor twice. He made the play twice. And you got the bottom,
and he's a little gassed.
And you got the bottom of the backboard once.
There's a look at Joe Brunk with the arms over his head, getting some wind. Free throw is good by number 3, Xavier Simpson. Had a nice game. Xavier's a really nice penetrating guard for King James.
Yes, he is. You know, he's got a lot of Atlantic 10, Big Ten interest, a lot of schools watching him as he develops.
7-point game, 50-43. And he makes them both. So back to an 8-point game, 2:24 to go. That's where the Grind's got to find a way to score and stop. Chitty with the basketball to Walker. They swing it all the way into the corner. Tried to get it into the big guy, and it's turned over and knocked out of bounds, but it will stay with the Grind. As Kurkowski tried to force a tough pass in there for Brunk. Knocked out of bounds. Parker Chitty to inbound. Does it, gets it into Brunk, right to the basket, and he is bumped and fouled. Trying to get a little jump hook, running hook in there, and got a couple free throws coming.
Yeah, I really like him. You know, he's aggressive. He plays hard.
He should be playing for Wisconsin already, it looks like to me. He's like a Bo Ryan player right there.
Yeah,
he can step out and shoot the 3. He's a 6'10" guy.
Well, you know, you look along the thing here. We're seeing some Big Ten schools sitting here taking a look at this big fella. Maybe there's some real interest here along this Big Ten row. They're trying to keep him away from Bo, although I know that great guard, Triple G as we like to call him, the assistant at Wisconsin, is in the gym as well.
And Brunk makes the free throw.
You know, I never did ask him what the other G was for. I know it's Greg Gard, and I don't know what the middle name is.
All right, well.
That could be a trivia question for the future.
You'll have to find out the answer to it first. You can't have a trivia question not know the answer.
Oh, I'll know that before the end of the day here.
Okay.
I'm going to get that now.
So Brunk misses the second free throw. 7-point game. With the basketball is Cobbs. Right around and to the hole. He's bumped and fouled. Nice move by Martavius Hobbs. Took his man, Cobb, I should say, took his man off the dribble. Got to the basket and drew the foul. Under 2 minutes to play. 7-point game. Both teams in the bonus, and now double bonus for King James.
Well, I'll tell you what, losing the jersey hasn't hurt his game today. He's had a pretty good game overall.
He doesn't have the number 2 centered in his back properly. Other than that, it's off to the side a little bit. There you go. There's a look at it. There's the shirt. Parkview, Ontario Hospital sponsors Mr. Martavius Cobbs. I guess it's one of those things. You gotta have a shirt with a number on it. As long as you do, you're good to go.
And you notice they did keep it legal by putting a number 2 on the front of his jersey, which is required by the AAU.
Okay.
You got to have a number on both sides at the AAU.
There's a bump and a foul. And to the line will go Xavier Simpson. Back on the other end, down here, Darnell Hoskins looks like he had a finger in the eye down to the left, or maybe in the nose. And he got hit right in the mouth and the nose. Seen that a couple times. People say basketball is not a contact sport.
Yeah, we've got kids with ice on their face and on their jaw and on their chest.
On their shoulders, on their knees, on their ankles.
In the last game, we had a guy that was holding his jaw for almost a whole half.
Yeah, Darnell Hoskins is back here at center court, and he's in a lot of pain. The thing that happens as much as anything, you get hit in the nose like that or the mouth, it just, your eyes tear up so quickly, and you got to be able to get your faculties back. Free throws are good, 53-44. And Hoskins looks like he's going to be all right. Still trying to clear his.
Yeah, he's still blinking his eyes a little bit.
Number 1. Here's Walker. 1:35 to go in the game. Now to Brunk. Brunk out top, looking for somewhere to go with the basketball. Finds a teammate, then hops to the hole himself and fills the lane. Nice job by Joseph Brunk. The old give and go.
I tell you what, I like Brunk. Now he made that whole play. As soon as he made the pass, he knew exactly where he was going. Got it right back, made the bucket. Unfortunately, I think that the grind should have been a little more patient. There you go. Look at that. Nice move off. Gets the ball, puts it through. I like the way he moves his body, moves his feet, plays hard. You know, you're right. He should be playing somewhere in the Big Ten. That's the way they play in that league.
Yeah.
Like I told you, the Big Ten is here to watch him play.
Free throw on the way. It is no good. So it's an 8-point game with 1:18 to go.
We got coaches pointing at themselves when we said that.
Several of them. Long three is on the way. No good. That was heaved up there by Henson. And with just over a minute to play, here comes Daniels across the timeline. Hoskins, I should say. They swing it back around. Xavier Simpson. Now back in. They play catch with Watson. Back to Hoskins. He's bumped and fouled. 51 seconds. Let me ask you this from the recruiting trail. You're a guy like a Brunk. You've got 10 schools talking to you. How obviously, forget the kid standpoint for just a second. From the school's standpoint, when the schools are all competing against each other, that process for the schools.
Well, the biggest thing they have to do is, one, some schools will negative recruit, but very, very few does that work for. So what you have to do is you have to look at the player. You have to go in when you go into the home visit. You're going to go in and say how he's going to play in your system, how it's going to benefit him, what the educational situation is going to be. Can you give him what he wants as far as a major that he at that point feels that he wants? You're trying to find every positive you have.
Right.
And everything that you can show him successfully that someone else similar to him in your program has had. So if you're recruiting Mr. Brunk, yeah, you're going to look at your big guys and look at your lineage of big people and who you've coached over the years and been involved with, and then show him how he fits into that same structure in your future and where he fits into your offense, what he's going to be do as a freshman, sophomore, junior, who he's competing against. You're better to build the whole plate for him, put all the food out there on that silver platter, and then let him partake of it.
Now, Brunk going to the free throw line. On the other side, from the player standpoint, obviously, you talk about all the things that a player wants. How important for a player in today's game is it instant playing time as a freshman?
Well, I think it's very, very important because that's the way their thought process is about where they're going to go. What I tell parents and players to do
so
is
a kid might go to a school, wouldn't be his #1 choice because he could play more as a freshman versus maybe a better program.
It might be, but the thing is, the key is your ability to develop and play in a program may be important, more important than just who the program is. Because you got to remember, the better the program, the more people they recruit, and it's opportunity.
Right.
If you get an opportunity, you take advantage of it, you got to be ready for it. But at the same time, if you have the opportunity from day one, sometimes it turns out that you become a great, great player just because you're on the floor, you're having a chance to develop within the game.
But if you're a kid and you got a chance to, you're being recruited by Duke, and even though you might not play at Duke, but you get to be coached by Coach Krzyzewski for 3 or 4 years versus playing at pick a school, what do you do?
Okay, we had a great guest on during the games in Northwestern. Right. I'm going to get the same education at Northwestern, but I'm going to play for 4 years. I'm going to start for 4 years, and I might be an all Big Ten player, and I might make it to the NBA because I have that opportunity. Got to make the choice based on what is important to you. What you do is you go and you formulate a list. What are the important things to you? The pluses and minuses of each school would determine who you should consider based on what's important. Every kid's list is different because what is their priority is different.
There's our final score, 55-48. King James beats UA Grind. And we're going to take a break. We'll come back with our quarterfinal matchups. Expressions Elite and King James, the 17U Division National Semifinal quarterfinals are coming up next right here on the Basketball Channel.